Okay, so today we're going to look at white spot. It's also known as ick or cryptocarian. Now, this is a disease which is a small parasite, and much like fleas on a dog. So some people might think that it's spread by stress and things like that, diet and all these things, but they don't really have an effect on it. Just like giving your dog extra food or stressing your dog out wouldn't cause fleas to magically appear out the ether. It's exactly the same with white spot. Either a fish has it or it doesn't have it. Now, the life cycle of white spot is the key to breaking it. And how this works is that the first sign is often spots appearing at the fish. And when they appear on the surface of the fish, this is actually day 10 of the cycle and the last day of the life cycle. So the spots appear, and then that night they drop off in the dark into the water, and this is when they're most vulnerable. They then seal themselves into a little cyst, and they stay in the cyst then for 3 to 5 days, depending upon temperature. Each of those then hatch and release up to 200 spores. Those spores then burrow their way back into the fish, hide in the fish for 3 to 5 days depending on temperature, and reappear as spots again. Now, fortunately, this makes it very easy to treat. When the infection is in the cyst form, it can be quite hard to eradicate, and when it's inside the fish, it's basically impossible to eradicate. The key is to catch it on the night where it ruptures out of the fish. So all you need to do to treat it effectively is use a copper medication in a quarantine tank, dose every day as close to midnight as possible, and by doing that for 5 days, every day as the spores release from the fish into the water, they're killed, and at the end of the 5 days they're all dead and you're in the clear. Now, you will see other treatments recommended like chloroquine based treatments, but in my experience they're not always 100% effective and they're very difficult to use in a home environment. You'll also see things like hypersalinity suggested, but that is much more complicated to use. It can be done with the tank transfer method on fish that can't use copper medications, but it's something better left to the more experienced hobbyist, more familiar with the life cycle and the way that the disease operates. The best way by far is treatment with copper in a quarantine tank. You'll also see other cures recommended, such as increasing feeding, decreasing feeding, raising salinity, lowering salinity, turning lights off, fitting UVs, or fitting ozone. There's been a lot of studies done on white spot because it affects commercial fish, things like salmon farms, which costs a lot of money to the industry, and all of these treatments have been found to not be effective against white spot in a home environment. The best way to avoid getting white spot is to quarantine before the fish go into the tank, and if you're getting corals from non-clean source, to quarantine those as well. White spot's fairly distinctive because the spots will be quite large and raised. They won't always be visible. See our video on diagnosing disease for tips on how to spot whether it is white spot, and then watch that and that will explain what it is. Also, make sure that just because your fish have small white spots all over them, there's a good chance it's not white spot they've got, so make sure you check out that diagnosing disease video to make sure you're using the right medications for the right disease.